Hey, so we've got the animation toolbox here, and it is an add-on that makes cleaning up motion capture and character animations way easier. So it works on armatures and actions in Blender, and it is designed for stuff like fixing jitter, reducing foot sliding, handling root motion, and getting animations basically ready for game engines like Unreal or Unity or whatever you're using. So I'm going to walk you through the UI and show you what everything does. So you will find it in the 3D viewport under the sidebar, under the Kuruma tab. Just click it right there. If you don't see anything here that's useful at all, then just make sure that you have a armature selected, or else none of these options are going to appear for you. So you're going to need your animation sat here in your viewport ready. So at the top here, we've got the rig preset drop down. So this basically decides, or is an easier way to help with the rig naming system for your chosen rig. So we have Mixamo, we have the UE Mannequin, we have Rigify, we have Rococo, and we have Custom. So when you hit one and you click Apply, basically what that's doing is it's filling out all the bone names that are going to be using this tool. So for the feet and for the hips, for example, we'll get over to those later. And it's basically just going to go through your avatar's bone names, and it's going to fill out the necessary ones, basically just so you don't have to search for them later. And it's just a quick and easy way of making sure that you've got the right bone selected. Below that, you will see the current action name and the two buttons. We got Save Snapshot, and then we have Restore Snapshot. So saving snapshot makes a backup copy of the action before you start messing with anything. If something goes wrong, then you have the restore snapshot, which obviously puts it back to how it was at the beginning. So this is basically just super handy before you go trying new settings, just so you can get back to a safe spot, especially if you haven't got your undos a reasonable amount and you just want to go back to how stuff was at the beginning and get back to your original file. Underneath that, you'll see the all bones and the selected bones. This is pretty self-explanatory. Basically, it controls which bones are going to be affected by stuff like cleaning up and looping tools. If you only want to tweak certain bones in pose mode, then you just basically want to click selected bones and then select the ones you want, and then your filters and stuff will be applied to those bones only. So all bones, everything, selected bones is whatever you will select in pose mode. Right, first of all, we have the cleanup tab. So mocap can have tons of keyframes. Decimation here aims to remove a lot of redundant ones while keeping the shape of the motion like mostly the same. So we're cutting down on loads of keyframes while keeping the animation looking as fresh as it was when it was first put into the scene. You'll see the error threshold here. The lower this is, the more keyframes it's going to keep, and the higher it is, the more it's going to remove. So it's nice to have a much lower number. I wouldn't go anywhere above probably 0.5. There's no limit to this, but 0.5 is a decent one to go at. But it is also okay to go as low as 0.0001, sorry. That seems to be a nice one that gets rid of, even this one will get rid of thousands of frames, and it's going to save you a lot of space. Underneath that, we have the preserve first and last frames. This is basically just so that you can keep, well, pretty much just keep the first and last frames, which is usually what you want, to keep that smooth and consistent loop. Under that, we have the trash tool, which is your decimate keyframes, and that's your magical button. That's basically just going to reduce your keyframes. We click that now, we can see that we've gotten rid of 34,000 keyframes from this one animation, which is absolutely wild. That is going to help us tremendously with optimization and for just general file sizes. Under that, we have the filter. So mocap and general animation exports can cause 180-degree flips in rotation curves. So basically this button just unwraps those jumps, so rotations are continuous, so you don't get weird snaps in your animation. It's always best to just click this and just make sure that you've not got any issues there. It's just something that's gonna fix any issues if you have them, so it's always good to just click that and make sure. Right, next we have the root motion panel, and this is for handling movement of the character through space. So first, the root bone. Some rigs don't have root bones depending on how you've exported them. So here you can basically just add one, type in the root bone name. I'm going to keep mine as root just so I know it's the root, and then choose whether to choose whether to reparent existing bones. So basically this is making every bone currently connected to the pelvis. So our pelvis is basically our current root, and when we add the root bone, this is going to make sure that the root bone is at the top of our parent chain, so that everything is following that root bone. If a root bone already exists, then it's going to show up here. It will say that a root bone exists. It will auto check the rig. But if one doesn't exist, you can click add root bone, and there you are. It will immediately add one, and then you can see checked right there, root bone exists. Next we have bake in place. This basically moves horizontal displacement from a source bone, so that will be typically your hips or the pelvis, and it bakes it onto your new root bone. That way the character can animate in place for a game engine, with the root carrying the motion. So if you pick your source bone here, and make sure you have a root bone, then you hit the play icon, which is our bake root motion. What it's going to do is it's going to bake all of the keyframes, all the horizontal keyframes that are in the hip to this new root motion. And as you can see, it's just following it along right there. And there we go, that is our root bone immediately set up. It's not taking us long at all. Below this we have the F-curve extraction. So this copies location data from the source bone to the root bone at the F-curve level. So you can choose which axis you want. So we got X, Y, and Z here. It's default to X and Z. It's more of a direct data transfer than a bake in place. So you would want to use it when you want to move translation from one bone to another without like doing a full bake essentially. Right, next we have the foot tools. So the foot tools lives in its own sub panel collapsed by default. So the first options you'll see here is to pick the left foot and the right foot. If you've already done your rig up here and clicked apply, then it should have already found it. If you don't have a specific rig under these, it will try and auto find it, but if it doesn't, then just click on here and find the right naming conventions for you. So sliding reduction fixes the feet sliding on the ground. It detects when the foot is on the ground using a height threshold, and it smooths horizontal movement during those phases. So smooth strength is pretty self-explanatory. It's how much it smooths. And then once you've clicked fix foot sliding, it should go ahead and it will give your character less sliding. It's going to fix all those awful foot sliding issues that you'll notice in game as well, like when your character's moving at a certain speed and you can kind of tell that their feet aren't moving in time with your animation. So that's going to help fix that. Under this we have the inverse kinematics add-on. So when we hit setup foot IK, it creates a IK target bone. So let's just go do that. It's going to look a bit dodgy at the moment. That's okay. We're going to fix it in a second. So that's going to create IK target bones, and that bakes the foot position, and it adds IK constraints. Chain length is how many bones are in the leg chain. So you customize that to your needs. You can add a pole target to the knees and set the pole distance if you would like. That's absolutely optional. And then remove foot IK undoes it as well. So if you don't want the foot IK, then you can just click remove. Usually the foot IK doesn't actually break the animation. It may look like it when you originally click it, but it's absolutely fine. And then if we go ahead and go into pose mode, you can see, if I can drag over, it's a bit too much. you can see that that is now a perfect IK constraint. This is also great if you just want to manually go through keyframes and then just fix stuff. Feet are very tedious to do, especially for looping like walking, running, you know, animations. It's a very tedious thing to do, so that immediately helps, you know, at the click of a button. So next we have the ground pinning, and this works after you set up the foot IK. So it pins the IK feet to the ground during contacts, so every other step it's going to pin those bones to the ground to basically reduce shake and just reduce any jitter that you would see in the feet in general. So if we click pin feet to ground, you'll see at the bottom here, pin 6 frames across 2 contact phases. So it's pinned 56 overall keyframes, and it might not be visible, but it is definitely working. If you go through frame by frame, you'll see how much on where it snaps, like right there. It's just making sure those feet are grounded, because when you do mocap and when you're running, your feet can become very shaky from when your feet are contacting and stomping with the ground, so that aims to eliminate that. The pin blend frames controls how fast it eases in and out of contact, so it doesn't look so sudden. So that's basically just if you want, if you're doing it, if you're pinning to the ground and it's not, you know, you're not seeing enough, you know, enough change, then you can alter this to obviously make it stronger or weaker. Right, next we have the looping panel. This has to be my favorite one. So the smart loop finder, as you'll see here, it's just an amazing tool. So it's going to find frames where the poses match, so from the reference frame. So I can show you an example here. So if we go to, let's say, frame 92, if we click this button here, this is going to set the current frame here. And then the minimum loop length is the minimum amount of keyframes that it can find to loop. So say it couldn't find anything good except the next 20 frames, it's going to use those 20 frames. So that's your minimum that you're setting. You can customize that. If you click find loop points, that is going to bring up this screen. It's going to show you the current frame and the matching frame. So 140 is our current matching frame, in case we needed to know that information before trimming it down. And then you get a score. So the lower the score, the better. 0.4 is a really good score. Anything below that really is going to be amazing. I wouldn't recommend anything above 1, maybe 1.1, because that's kind of stooping into levels where your animations aren't quite lining up correctly. If you can get it under 1, then it's great. It's always best to just click around, see if you can find a better number. There we go. I don't know. I think that might have been slightly lower. So from 120 to 177. I'm just going to go back to 92. Yeah, slightly lower. If you just play around, you'll find a good threshold where you'll get a good loop. So the trim to loop button is going to basically trim down from those frames. And if I play here, you can see that we now have this jog cycle that looks pretty much the same throughout, except obviously the fact that it's not grounded to the origin currently. Finally, under the looping tab, we have the loop blend. Basically, this is just allowing you to choose the start and end amount of keyframes that you can blend together so that you can reduce this snapping in the middle that we've got here. So as you can see, there are big jolts when my animation comes to an end, sorry. So if we set this to, let's say, 25 and click make loop, you can immediately see the change. Obviously, this could do with a lot more better optimization. I think I might have accidentally cleaned up or decimated it a bit too hard, so it's a bit jittery still. I would recommend doing the decimation probably as the very last thing that you do, or maybe like the second to last. Maybe do a bit of cleanup after the decimation. But yeah, this loop blend button, the make loop, it is going to be the magic button. It brings everything together. If your animations look like they're not going to loop properly, I would still recommend that you go through, just pull through with it, because this button is it will be your lifeline. If it's too much, change it down, you know, play around with it. 50, let's go for that, 50 frames. There's not a whole lot of frames in my animation to begin with, so looping that many is obviously not going to look amazing, but there you are. That is the loop blend button, and that is going to be one of the most heavy lifting buttons out of this entire add-on. So next we have the export panel, and this has a Unreal Engine FBX export option. It exports the selected armature and action with Unreal friendly settings. So basically, it's going to allow deform bones only, and it's going to get rid of any leaf bones. It's just the way Unreal likes it. This is pretty much only here because I wanted a quick way to just click a button and be able to import into Unreal. I might add more options here in the future, but for now, if you are doing Unreal animation, there is a nice handy button there set out for you. And finally, we have the batch process panel. So the batch process is for cleaning up lots of actions at once. So basically you enable what you want: decimate, smooth, filter, loop, and then you hit the play icon here, so the batch process all actions. And then it applies those operations to every action in the file. So if you have multiple animations that you want to just quickly, like, you know, decimate, smooth, fix snaps, and then loop, it's going to do it across all of them. It's going to save you a lot of time. Personally, I would recommend still going through each setting individually, but if you're really running short on time or you just want a quick solution, then batch process is the way to go. So I'm going to quickly just, I'm going to back out of all of this, and I'm going to go to the very start, and I'm basically going to, I'm going to shut up, and I'm going to go from the start, and I'm basically just going to show you my process of how I would do it, just so you can follow along if you would like. So let's delete that, and let's get to it. Cool, okay, well, just like that, in a couple of minutes, and not even that. I mean, you get used to it, so you can whiz through these animations, but just like that, not perfect. I could touch up on things. There is a slight bit of jolting, but a lot, and I mean a lot of a heavy lifting has been done here already. So yeah, that's the animation toolbox. You've got a cleanup. Sorry, let me just get it up here again on the side. We've got the cleanup, the root motion, the foot tools, the looping, the export, and the batch process. And we have got all of that in one place. If you have any questions or run into issues, check out documents, or I'll leave contact information if you need to reach out to me. And yeah, thank you for taking the time to watch.